What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Football Boot Hour with me, James, here on the Boot Wizard channel, of course, joined by my co-host Andrew from the Lockhart Boot Blog. And if you are watching us live or on the catch-up, you may notice that we have a very special guest today. Ben has joined us. This week, we were going through all of our normal stuff. We're going to do that. Ben is going to join in. But we are also going to be talking about to Ben for a very specific reason. And I think the best way to find out about that is for Ben to maybe introduce himself and let us know why you're here, Ben. Why would you like to talk to us fun people on the Football Boot Hour?
Great question.
Because we're blackmailing you is not an option.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Bribery is also off the cards, right? I guess thanks for having me on. It's been obviously been talking for a while now anyway. The community is a great one, and so it's a nice opportunity to have. So I guess going with the clickbait title of this video. So
how dare you? I do not use clickbait. How dare you?
Not at all. Thanks for having me on. It's so I'm ex-Addy. Worked there for around 6.5 years as a footwear developer, specifically mainly in the footwear innovation space. Some of the stuff we worked on, as you may know, is this F50 plus. Since then, I'm out in Vietnam, so hence the bags under my eyes this morning.
It's up even earlier than me.
It's even earlier, but it's good. Well worth getting up early for.
Cheers, Ben. Thank you very much. And yes, so Ben is ex Adidas of 6 years and has some very interesting insights. We've been speaking to Ben for a long time. We've been trying to get Ben on for a long time, but a combination of a horrendous time difference. So we really do appreciate you being here at 6 a.m. And also on some parts, some horrendous organization by me means we haven't quite achieved to get Ben on, but we're delighted to have you now. But Ben is a follower of the podcast, so we don't want to miss anything out. Let's do all of the good stuff. And let's start with what have we been wearing this week? And Ben, would you like to go first? What have you been wearing this week?
I can. So last Sunday would have been the most recent. I've been wearing some Predators, and of course with the fold over time. I'll put it in its correct position.
Apparently Adidas photographers disagree and they don't think that's where the position goes, and every time they're photographed, like the tongue is right like underneath the middle of the boot, and it does anger me. What is that? Like that's it. Whoever's taking their photos, man.
I've asked friends the question who is doing this. So we're working that out, but it's still lovely shoe. It's pretty battered here in some of the pictures, but it's still intact. No studs have fallen off yet. Listening to you guys last time, I am considering taking the Dremel to the foot. Which will kill me to do, but I might have to do it.
We can
go
ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and then also in and out of the Speedo de Vista as well.
Nice.
A bit more friendly. Also just shape-wise, I think a bit more forgiving with the forefoot and the width. I've got fat feet, so try and help myself. But yeah, that's been it.
Nice, really nice options. Andrew, I know you've got new fun things. Have you brought them along with you?
No, I haven't worn them yet. I'm gonna go do it today.
Okay.
Yesterday or the day before yesterday, I was gonna go film a little bit, and I got home and passed out. And by the time I woke up, it was time to pick up my kid. Yesterday, I came home and my kid was sick, so I didn't have time. So hopefully, I can sneak out for a little bit today in between everything. Give these a good run around. Of course, it means it pushes the review back, but yeah, these are like really, really nice in hand. They're a bit stiff, to be honest. But
I think they're a bit stiff. Yeah, they're a little bit stiff out of the box. my thought was it's such a harsh thing to do, but I literally tested the X-Fly 5, the X-Fly Pro 2, and then those back to back in that order. So by the time I got to those, I was almost disappointed because like it's still a great boot, but I was like, oh, I'm kind of missing all of this lovely soft synthetic leather, and I just, like I say, it's kind of mean. That is a bit of a harsh comparison, and it's not a fair comparison to do either, really, because they're very different boots. But it's just where my brain was, because I literally tested them all. Like 1 week I had one, then the next, and the next. Yeah,
these and the the regular X-Fly or regular across the non-pro version have actually had a big pro uptake.
Okay.
Surprisingly, I don't know. It might partially be on ASICs, but it also seems like a lot of their sponsored pros have been, obviously they're almost all here, but have been wearing these. And I think it's more for like probably getting into worse weather and stuff like this. This seems to be a better option.
Okay.
So we'll see.
And I actually got the other one to you as well, because you have the Pro, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah,
These
so
are
I got
pros,
the normal
so they don't
one.
have the external heel counter, and the sole plate's more aggressive.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem more aggressive. It is more aggressive.
It is more aggressive. It is definitely more aggressive. I'm unsure. Like I don't want to buy the Pro to test the Pro, because they are obviously so similar. But at the same time, I'll be interested to know kind of what the differences are, like how it would feel to try it. Like how extreme is it?
It's not massively different, but like the fit is different. The heel shape is different as well. Just for me, the Pro models in ASICS lineup have always fit me better than the X Fly.
Yeah.
So the non-Pro models. So we'll see. What I've been doing actually is like people are like, oh, well, what about the non-Pro model? I'm like, oh, well, then you might have to just go and look at Wizard James's video. So
we can work with each other. I'll send the Pro people to you, and we'll do it the other way around.
Yeah, basically.
I like that.
And then Noah will cover both, and just So these are really good.
I put up a poll on my Instagram, just to kind of like a little bit of research, should we say, asking people like, did they trust kind of YouTube boot reviewers, to be honest. And then I was like, okay, which YouTube boot reviewers do you trust? And I put up like Josh and Unisport and Noah, and then like other is there anybody else for YouTube reviewers? And Noah has got like 50% of the vote. And then a few people very kindly put other and put me. And then there was another guy, and I know the guy, so it was I did this in jest, but he put a big long comment of like what he feels about YouTube boot reviewers. It was a very insightful, thoughtful comment, and he listed off like 8 reviewers that he like was like, oh, I like these as well as like Noah and Josh and you support all these people. I replied to him, I was like, did I not make the cut? Like, he put all these reviewers on under my post, and I was like, dude, did I not make the cut? Like, what the
I won't
hell?
take it personally.
Yeah, exactly. I was taking it personally.
I'll have to go find that comment. I'm interested to see who he put.
Some people that you don't like. But I think just one. I think. Anyway, for my what have I been wearing, I just put out my Puma Ultra Ultimate review. So that went up. That's been quite well received. I had a funny conversation with Substance Football recently where he basically went, honestly, I'm not copying your review, but I feel like my review is going to be the same. So that's good to hear. Like a bit of solidarity in our thoughts. And then my Ultra Carbon review has just been finished, gone up to members. Members, if you'd like to become a Boot Wizard member, please do. The links are available to you right now. And thank you to all of our existing members. We are currently at 10. We almost have an entire football team available.
Hey.
So, exactly. So that's just gone up. And then this week, mainly, I'm kind of on a grip socks thing at the moment. There's a lot of grip socks going on. The Medicaptain, new Medicaptain grip socks. So if you remember, I'm not going to go and get them. They're not that exciting to have to go and get them. So the original Medicaptain grip socks had that giant kind of pad across the metatarsal when you got stood on it, didn't hurt so much. These ones have padding around like the ankle and Achilles area. So the idea obviously being if you get kicked around the ankle or Achilles, it's a bit of extra padding. It's actually quite a nice sock. That material is nice. Obviously, how effective it is debatable. And I was like, well, actually, the biggest advantage to this is just when I end up kicking myself. More than anything.
When you catch it.
That's
There's
scraping.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nike had something similar for their
Mm.
socks that they gave to their pros. Like this would have been like, I think this was for the 2014 World Cup,
Right.
and they wanted like $75 for the socks.
Oh my God.
And because of how our store was set up, we had to order them.
Okay.
If you're a certain level of like Nike distributor, then you have to order certain stuff. So I did my usual, ordered it, and then called them to customer service and canceled it. And whenever the rep came around, I'm like, I don't know what happened, because customer service wouldn't tell them what happened. And there was a paper trail, but I don't think he cared that much.
Yeah, nobody cares that much. Yeah. Oh dear. Okay, with that done, we should take a look at what has released this week. Now, there's been a big, it's not an official announcement, but a close enough to an official announcement that the Vapor 1, or the original Vapor, the Silver and Volt Vapor, is getting a remake. The rumor going around is that we're going to see it in December. Now, normally we don't comment on obviously leaks and things like this, but this isn't a leak. This is images and things that have been put up by ProDirect specifically within the last couple of hours, basically teasing that this is going to happen. So we're definitely expecting it. I do have a little image here that I will throw up on the screen for everyone to see. This is fundamentally what we're expecting in some way or another. Ben, what are your thoughts on, like, one, kind of Nike moving into more of this Adidas style remake area? Are they a bit late to the party? And what do you reckon to like this particular remake? I'm sure you've seen leaks and various things like that as to what it might look like.
Like if they came out 1-to-1 with this, it's a great. I think silhouette wise is still. I'm saying this is a coming from Addy, but it's silhouette wise, it's incredible. It's so aggressive, low cut. So if it comes out like 1-to-1 like this, they've knocked out of the park. But with the sole plate construction, like the current one's internal heel counter, so I don't know what that's going to do with the heel. In terms of visuals as well. So that's going to take it from either being great down to to good, or it could drop drastically further depending how that looks. And how if it still looks quality, then no problem. But if it drops visually, then it's going to be a tough one to take.
Absolutely. I think there is a lot riding on this, at least looking a lot like the original. If they start to mess with it too much, people are going to be very upset. What do you reckon, Andrew?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the original silhouette's amazing. I didn't wear this colorway, but I had several pairs of this boot, and I loved them. I didn't get that many blisters.
Yeah, don't tell me you got one. That's a lie.
No, the top of the heel there, I do have scars on the back of my Achilles from them.
That's so crazy.
But you just wore them because you knew that's what was going to happen. If they make it close enough to this, like Ben said, they'll be knocking it out of the park. But like the difference between, it'll be interesting to see the difference between Nike and Adi, whereas Adi has been pretty good about, changing the shape to fit modern sole plates and yet still retain the look of the old ones. Absolutely. Even in the heel. The heel section especially, it'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off. Because obviously those have an external heel counter and the new ones do not. They haven't had external heel counters for years. So
yeah, it's I basically agree with everything you guys have said there. It looks incredible. If it is anything like that, they should be fine. But there is a strong chance, or it's such an opportunity to mess this up badly.
Yeah.
And it won't take a lot to really mess it up as well. We won't rank it because I think at this point we haven't even seen it to be able to rank it. But I think we definitely needed to talk about it. The only other release, to my knowledge, this week was the F50, the Mo Salah F50, or is it a Mo Salah? Ben, I don't know if you can answer this, right? So, on one hand, this has been advertised as a Mo Salah signature boot, and on the other hand, this has been advertised as a signature boot to celebrate kind of African players and to Arabic players. Arabic players, and they had the obviously the F50 in Arabic for the very first time on the boot. And it seems to me like nobody knows what on earth this was supposed to be. It was probably changed at one point, and I think it's really diluted what could have been an incredibly powerful message. What are your thoughts on this one, Ben? I'll throw a picture up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know anything, honestly, about the...
oh, boo. Why are you here? Boo!
Yeah, on this one, honestly, so obviously the collections, the turnarounds are pretty fast. But yeah, honestly, don't know on this one. Like, this the feeling I get is it's kind of, I don't want to say similar to the Dream Speed in the sense of initially it was Ronaldo and then it became kind of broader. Same with the Messi, right? It's done initially for Messi and then it becomes for more players. That's kind of the, I don't know, similar ilk here. It was maybe initially intended to be just Mo Salah, but then maybe other players who are younger upcoming. That's the feeling I got just from the release images. I think I saw you guys post on your Instagrams as well. It's but no, it's a cool looking boot. I think again, red and gold.
Yeah,
it's you can't go too wrong with it. But we have again, you guys have been saying a lot about red colorways. Been a lot of them. So I don't know. For me, if I was to rank, it's probably in the good, solid, good.
Oh, good. I think that's probably fair. What do you reckon?
Good.
What do you reckon, Andrew? Have you? I feel like I haven't spoken to you about this boot actually, which is odd for us. What are your thoughts on this one?
So it's weird. The retailer over here specifically had it marked as a solid colorway.
Mm-hmm.
So, in like the email blast they sent out, and the app updates and everything, like, I've got their app and it'll like, send a notification when something new and interesting comes out. And even on the website itself, it was like saying this is for Mo Salah. And then, they don't have any images of Salah wearing it or anything.
No.
And yeah, it's just, they kind of got a bit of the story and stuff, but yeah, it's kind of a weird release. They look amazing, and they sold out immediately here. So,
okay.
And I was very surprised, actually. Normally when stuff sells out immediately now, there's loads of people who are cottoning on to the reselling game now.
Mm-hmm.
But with these, I've only seen 2 pairs on the resale market.
So people have actually bought these to keep them. They've gone in the right hands kind of thing.
Yeah. The only other release that's been like that, amazingly enough, is because this is Japan and they've got a big rivalry with Korea, is the Hyunmin Song Crazy Fast Laceless they did a little while back. So it's interesting to see what sells out and people are like, yeah, I'm going to hold on to this versus like, I can flip this.
Where would you rank it? What's your ranking for this one?
I'll put it in good. We have seen a lot of red boots from Adi recently, or red F50s from Adi recently. So
yeah, I kind of have 2 issues. One is obviously the multiple red boots. We've just had so many. The Soccer.com colorway. We had the Vivid Horizon pack. We've got this one. I'm sure there's another one in there that I'm forgetting. There's just so many red ones, and as we complain about frequently, like Adi never seem to actually find their red pen, and they have some kind of faded version of it. They did do it with the Soccer.com ones. I'll give them that much. I think it's a real shame that they've made, in my opinion, a little bit of a mess of the story of what could have been a really interesting story, a really good story. And I do think there was, maybe I'm thinking too much about it. There was an opportunity, I think, to make a real impact with a boot that had Arabic on it for the first time and have that message with the F50 in Arabic. And essentially it's just become diluted with this, like, what even is this boot? And it really feels like Adi don't even know what the boot is. It's like we had a story. I find it baffling. How can you have a story, tell the retailers that story, and then if you've changed that story, that's fine. Go and tell all of the retailers. Don't let ProDirect think it's one thing and like Ultra and Unisport think it's something else. Like, it just is baffling to me. But it looks great. The idea was there. It's at least got some kind of a story, so I will also go with good. I think that seems fair.
I've forgotten something again this week, though.
Oh, what have I forgotten?
It's okay. This side of the world doesn't.
It's not okay. What did I do?
You forgot that ASICs have shown off just for retailers here, but they've shown off a prototype.
Yes.
X-Fly Pro 3, which, it's the X-Fly Pro 3. Nobody's saying what it is, but everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
The X-Fly Pro 2 went on sale about a month and a half ago. Like, they marked it down, which is, when ASICS does that, that's a sign there's a new model about to come out. They'll mark down even the newest colorway. They'll just to start getting boots out the door. And then, so it's gone full synthetic, and they've made the sole plate more aggressive, which it's not super, super aggressive, but like these studs up here have changed. And I think the material they're using slightly changed on the sole plate.
Okay.
The upper, no longer leather. It's a material called Silky Touch.
Ooh.
And what I've heard is it is stupidly nice. Just ridiculously nice synthetic. Like an improvement even upon the special editions that we've seen on the X-Fly Pro 2 and the DS Lite X-Fly 5. So, those are...
I heard they had a problem originally with it being too soft.
Yes, so that's what I've heard from some people, is that it's too soft, and that Jay from Boot Hype said that they went... they overdid it, basically.
Which is insane. There's brands that can't even make something soft enough to be even remotely leather-like, and ASICs are like, we went too far, lads. Madness.
So we'll see. I'm guessing that'll come out in the next week or two. I'm hoping. So I'm going to the States in December. So I'm hoping that comes in before then, and I can get a review knocked out before then.
Yeah.
And between the snow coming as well. So let's see. But that'll. I guess we can't really rank that because it won't be an official release. But that's coming.
That is coming, and you are right. I did forget that, and the reason I forgot that is because I saw it from you, and I didn't repost it on my story, and I went through my story to find everything.
You didn't see it from me. You heard me talk about it, saw it on a different post. It's okay. I know you don't look at my stories and stuff. It's fine. It's fine.
I watch all your stories.
It's fine. Look,
I see all your stories.
I see this as a one-way relationship, and that's okay. I've accepted that at this point.
It's just not true.
Finding out how Andrew really feels today.
I know, right? I know. God.
Elon Dio, we don't talk about future releases and stuff, leaks and things like that. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, sorry, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks to everybody who's joined us so far. Andrew Palmer using the logos like crazy because he is a member.
But welcome everybody. I think it is time to get Ben to talk.
Yes.
Ben, we have ways of making you talk. What? Let's strap in. Tell us about the Adidas experience. So firstly, I think the best thing for us to get a handle on is exactly what you did, like kind of what your position was, what you were involved with, and things like that, just so that everybody has a good idea of kind of what your foundation is and what information, where your information is coming from.
Yeah, sure. And I'll try and be as let's say, transparent as possible today, without obviously
Yeah.
respecting
Yeah.
former
So
colleagues and still good friends. Is it?
we should mention this, that
Yeah.
we're going to ask Ben some questions. Potentially you can ask him some questions in the live chat and down in the comments. There's a chance he won't be able to answer them in full, or he'll only be able to give us bits of pieces, because obviously he has friends, colleagues, etc., and he does have to respect those relationships.
Yeah.
So we will squeeze him for every bit of knowledge we can, but there are certain things that he will not be able to tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, just in terms of, I guess, where I started. So I joined Adi 2017. At the time, it was called Advanced Development. So working, you have your inline calendar, your inline teams, or just, let's say, developers, and then advanced development sounded very fancy, which we used to joke about, but essentially it means longer, advanced in terms of timelines, right? So looking at working on new innovations, new technologies, which could find its way into that inline product and commercialize it. And then over the years, the teams reorged a bit, a few changes here and there as you get with these big companies. And then, working in general across innovation footwear. So some rugby dropped in there, but tennis dropped in there. And then towards the end, it was really kind of laser focused on football innovation.
Nice.
So it was let's say it was definitely growing up. I think I was even kind of 15 or so when I was pretty sure what I wanted to do, and it was a long way to get there. I had some really great experiences with the guys there.
Amazing. So there you go, everybody. That's where we're coming from today. So I suppose the first thing I'm going to ask the first question, and I'll pass over to Andrew. But the first thing I'd kind of want to know is, like, what was the first kind of boot that you worked on? I know you said rugby and tennis. We don't care. Like, nobody cares today. So what was the first boot that you worked on, and what was like the innovation within that boot that you're like,
Sure.
maybe you're proud of, or you feel that everybody took on board?
Yeah, so I guess, and again, I think just to preposition this, like the teams involved are huge, right? Um, so to say,
No, Ben, you did this by yourself. This was all you. This was 100% you.
Yeah, as a part of those big teams, I was involved or worked on projects. First one, which was great, was the Pred 20, Pred Mutator, however people want to call it. I think that was a special one. I think one of my Instagram posts at the time, like the dream or my first like fall in love moment with Boost was the Mania. Zidane Mania. So to work on something which he was then wearing, at least in training. He's coaching at the time, but wearing in training. That was pretty special. But yeah, on that one, it was the bring back of the rubber elements. That started out of, I don't know, almost out of nothing, and then became a really key feature on that boot. That was really special. And then, but that was, I'd say, just as I started supporting the guys. The one which I was then more heavily involved in was the Carbitex component of what became the X Ghost.
Yes.
So that was a good one. Looking into the biomechanics with the guys. How can you do carbon fiber in a meaningful way? And of course, there's the history of carbon fiber across different brands. Puma had it in '06. Nike have obviously had it very famously. So I think it was clear that it couldn't just be the same. It couldn't just be copy and paste. Everyone, myself included, would be like, people have done this before. It's not special. So with that one, I think that what's really cool about what the Carbitex guys were doing, and you can find this on their website. But in terms of the material itself, it behaves in a kind of special way for carbon fiber. Most carbon fiber you make it's rigid, and that's all it is. Like if you think Formula One, I know you guys have been talking about it a lot recently with Puma. But if you think in Formula One, it's there to be really rigid. It's not particularly good at impact resistance, but it has a very high tensile strength and bending stiffness. What's called the Carbitex stuff, it's actually stiffer in one direction and softer in the other. At least on a raw material level. Just the way kind of formulated all of their layers in that composite. And what was special and what we really liked is it actually gets stiffer the more you bend it.
Wow.
Sorry, I'm on so you're gonna get some blurry background stuff.
That is the
I
best
didn't know
thing
that
that's
was
going
gonna
to
happen.
happen. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
goes well with the shirt, right? With all the
Yeah.
bright lights. Yeah, the more I'm gonna keep my hands on my legs from now on. I'm not gonna use my hands. So the more you bend that plate, the stiffer it gets. So the advantage there is when you're jogging or walking around, the intent is that it's a bit softer, so you still retain that comfort. And then when you're sprinting, the more you bend the plate, the stiffer it gets, which is what you want for sprinting. So if you think of sprinters, they're usually on a starting block, and that's because if they had to start completely flat on their spikes, it would be difficult to push off. Um, so it's just try and create that kind of sprinting experience. Um, of course, it also then pairs with the upper, so I think that
Mhm.
became even better with the Speedflow
Yes.
because the upper was softer, so you felt more of the plate. And that's maybe a really important point, and especially listening to you guys, like let's say the shoe as a system, not just as a bottom unit or an upper. The system. I think you guys talked about it recently with the Puma.
Yeah, the future.
Talking with the future, it's like if you have that mismatch, you don't get full experience, and I think
Yeah.
that's what the
Yeah.
guys really dialed in for that Speedflow to create that really special experience.
So we're obviously we're obviously huge fans of the Speedflow, both of us,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
this incredible boot. Um, sorry, pardon me. And the Carbitex is, of course, a huge component of that. And to hear, obviously, hearing you speak about the Carbitex and what it does and how innovative it is and how amazing it is, I have to I don't obviously want to push things in a negative direction or force you to try and say things one way or the other, but
But
Yeah,
I
why
do
the
have,
hell?
yeah,
yeah,
I do have to question and ask the question about obviously innovation for innovation's sake, because
sure.
was there a need to remove that Carbitex? There just didn't seem to be. It seemed to be a step backwards, and it feels like Adidas, I don't know how much you can speak on this, but it feels like Adidas have this 2-year cycle on things. And once
Yeah,
that 2-year cycle ends, they switch to something else. And Carbitex specifically for me is on one where I'm like, but
That was
why?
baffling.
You did
Yeah.
such a good job with this. Like, could you not have kept hold of it? Like,
yeah,
it would have gone really well in the boots that came through. Like, you keep advancing that technology that clearly you put so much time and effort and thought into, and even that small insight that you've just given us, I think makes me appreciate it so much more than even I already do
I'm
as to
like,
what.
I need to find another pair of Speedflow, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's like I have 2 pairs of Speedflows. Maybe I need another one. But yeah, sorry. I don't know how much you can speak on that, but I'm going to put you on the spot and
yeah,
ask you anyway.
yeah. I know. I'll probably end up with a very cop out answer, guys.
That's
So
okay.
apologies for
I
that one.
understand.
But no, I think like in general terms, like with the big brands, as you know, you spoke about it, Nike and Puma as well. I think they're always moving, looking for what's next. And this is where I don't even know how the figures look, but this is where we like the three of us and others are super into those details about what the carbon fiber is. But I know I've asked people, friends, not even within work. I just thought it was a sticker. Some people aren't aware of that kind of innovation and that work going on. And I think, yeah, ultimately in a good way, it's fairly seamless. You feel there's something in the shoe if you're aware of it, but then there's other people who they're not so aware of it. It just does what it needs to do, which is, from my perspective, it means it's job done. But then perhaps from a purchasing perspective, it's like, oh, well, I can't really feel too big a difference. Therefore, it's not an innovation.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's where on the F50, the guys have done a great job of still providing something with enough snap on let's say the elite version,
Yeah.
enough responsiveness. And again, it's going back to more of the old, I guess, from 2010 onwards F50, where it is, again, talking about the whole boot as a package.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be like with a Speedflow or a ghosted tooling on there. Maybe that's one to hack up and try. Not the one you got in your hands, Andrew. Please
Yeah, obviously.
don't do that. But maybe with another
There's used
50
pairs
euro
abound,
branch.
trust me.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. So, but no, like it'll be an interesting one to see, especially on the regular elite version. It'd be an interesting one to see for sure. So that's a bit of a cop out answer, but
No, no,
It's
no.
it's
I
all
mean,
right.
that's still a good answer.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. So for me, obviously, my background or what I'm doing currently with Adler is they've got their Carvo, right?
Yeah.
And this is a much cheaper material to work with than carbon fiber, but it works similar. Obviously, it's not as premium. I'm sure there's a lot of limits to this material, but you still get
Yeah.
not obviously not as big of a snapback, but a better snapback than just like regular. And the thing about this material is a lot of companies either just use it in the forefoot or, like in the case of this, the whole sole plate, which would enable, like if Addy was to use on that F50, for example, they could keep this sole plate and still have the insert. Sure. But it's really interesting to see that this material is just limited to Japan so far. A lot of Japanese boots use them, but outside of that, there's not, there's been no uptake in the international market at all.
Yeah, I'd never really came across it, to be honest, until you guys spoke about it. So it's also interesting for me to see where that kind of on the composite side, where the innovations are going.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be interested to know the weight of it as well, because I think that's another big thing. Like, when everyone
it is definitely heavier than like a carbon fiber. It's the material is thicker as well.
Even with carbon fiber, I think there's this illusion, perhaps, in footwear. Carbon fiber is super lightweight, but it is compared to steel and aluminium.
That's
in a car, right? So
that's a great.
This is also the thing, and I think with the Mercs, like in 2014 to 2015, it was gone. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know this because I've never spoken to the guys making the decisions, but I guess part of that was also on the weight topic. Having a kind of a vacuum, it was almost like a vacuum forms in that anatomical sole plate on the Superfly 5. It was light. You still got the stiffness you needed, and you didn't need an expensive carbon fiber. So that's also a thing to consider.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that obviously there's definitely obviously going to be a cost component to that carbon fiber, Carbitex being put in, which I'm sure is being considered. And the weight is a great point. I had the Puma Ultra Ultimate and the Ultra Carbon both with me recently, same size. The Ultra Carbon is 10 grams heavier than the Ultra Ultimate. And, on the whole, they're fundamentally the same. There is subtle differences here and there. But the carbon one, people might generally assume, that's going to be super light because it's carbon. And I think you've just put it best. Yeah, it's super light compared to using steel or aluminium, is very, very true. What would your thoughts be on, like, obviously when you were designing and you're coming up with the Carbitex plate and the way this works, what would your thoughts be on something like the Puma Ultra Carbon? Is that something where you're like, that is just, it's not logical to do something like that? Because it kind of is completely illogical. Even when you wear it, it's kind of illogical. But like, what would your thoughts as a designer be on doing something like that? Has it been done just for the sake of, look what we did? Because that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah. So there's part of me, like, so again, I'm going to say this because I wasn't going to get rinsed from any mates watching. From a development side, so I'm a wannabe designer. Definitely not one of the good designers. From a development side, I properly nerd out on those types of things. Like, they're the types of things when they come out. Same with the airbag when that first came out. I think a lot of people are like, oh wow, what have they done? Just out of interest, if you're in the boot space, you're interested, at least curious. Like when we did the Ghosted and the Speedflow and that Carbitex insert, it had again that specific function which differentiated itself from existing carbon fiber. Right, it wasn't there to just be really, really stiff. We could have gone way stiffer. I had plates and samples which were you could barely bend them. But we always wanted to make sure it's playable as well. For the general and for a lot of testing as well, you find out that some people like flexible, some people like stiffer. And I think what's kind of kudos to Puma for going that extreme on a product that they've actually put out in the market is really
Yeah,
extreme.
yeah,
It is really stiff. So I'm personally not against it. There'll be some people, and I think this is what's interesting, even in any sprint bike research. Some people really benefit from such a stiff plate. Some people do not. It really depends on you as an individual. So I think why not give some of those people who want the stiff stuff, they get the stiff stuff.
yeah.
Absolutely. So obviously we view that as very much, we spoke about it before with Noah Kavanagh actually, as a Halo product. That was very much
Yeah.
our the terminology for it. This is the Halo product. And I think that probably leads us nicely into maybe talking about what we've considered to be Adidas's Halo product,
Yeah.
something else that you worked on, the F50 Plus, which I think it's fair to say hasn't been universally well loved,
Yeah.
but in a similar vein to that Puma carbon fiber sole plate, I don't know, Andrew, if you can probably chime in on this as well. I think it's something that we're pleased exists. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I think this. Again, it's really funny that for years, like it's been a good while now that people have complained that Nike just completely abandoned making the Superfly a Halo product, and then Adidas and Puma both come in with something. And I think, I think while it hasn't had a lot of uptake, I like that it exists. I like that Addy went for it. They decided what looks like a very early stage based on what samples were available for the prototyping. It was something they thought about doing for a while, and like I like the idea of brands just every once in a while being like, let's just go for it, and not just only putting money for that, because I'm sure there's a lot of like what I would call like skunk work products, like really nerdy products that just never see the light of day, get prototyped, and then they're like, okay, we can't do this. But I do like the idea of like, this almost seems like it escaped prototyping at some point and wound up in production.
To go. Sorry. Firstly, if anybody's listening and I sound like a weird background noise, it's because there is a red storm warning where I live right now, which essentially is a storm warning for do not go outside. And I work out of a garage with a steel roof.
You need like a tunnel or like a something that leads to your house out to your.
So if anybody can hear that on the live, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best with all the little gadgets I've got in front of me. If you're not watching this on live, you're watching this on the catch up, you won't hear it at all because I'll get rid of it in the edit. But to go back to the F50, obviously, I kind of just want to get your thoughts on the process, Ben. Why you kind of went in, why the team went in that direction. And we've got some great questions in the chat, which I will get to very soon. And of course, once we've got your thoughts on the F50, we're definitely going to talk about laces. So, what are your thoughts on how did the F50 Plus come about? How much were you involved? Kind of what was that thought process?
I mean, the great thing is now that Harry and Hannes, my former colleagues, they just done this video with Jacob on with Unisport, right? So I think it's almost good timing because it means I feel a bit more relaxed about talking about some of these things without getting a phone call. But no, I think it's the process, as those guys said a little bit, it was a very kind of specific brief, and as you said, I think it was also about putting something out there which hadn't been done before, and really going for it, not playing it safe. I think within innovation in general, there's always, and within these big companies, there's always this fine line between commercialization and how do you commercialize something which will be widely accepted, and then how do you put something out there which is maybe not your 5 to 95% percentiles. It's really at the upper limits. So yeah, I think looking at this, as kind of Harry mentioned in that video, there was some work going on already in running around putting foams, and especially with Paddy had already done that at that time, putting foams into the sprint spikes, which even in that, up until that point, it was get low to the track and make it very stiff. So that's kind of where it started. I think where the big challenge was is how would you put something like that into a football boot? Not only create hopefully a performance benefit, but also make it playable. How can it possibly make sense for a football boot? And I think, yeah, when I was kind of brought on board, the first question I had was, or first thought was, this doesn't make sense. Honestly, it can't make sense. It was against all convention at that point. So yeah, I think there's a long process, but it was kind of firstly, how does this make sense? How can we make this make sense? What are the biomechanical insights that we can draw upon and dive into? So there were a lot of whiteboard sessions, lots of reading with the biomechanist. So Harry in that video was my main man to work with on that one, with Hannes as well on working out what are the insights we're going after. Which part, and again, they mentioned in that video, like football is multifaceted. It's not just about sprinting in a straight line. You have to change direction. You've got an acceleration phase. You've got a max speed phase. There's a lot of looking at numbers, looking at data, looking at where could it make sense.
The things I hate the most involved to make the thing I love the most.
Yeah, it was for me. It's a nice mix of like even now in my current position, it's a lot of how can we approach things in a methodical way, in a very systematic way, and then mixing in the creativity. And even with creativity, for me, finding those solutions or finding those new insights, there's an element of creativity in that as well. Finding something which hasn't been looked at before. But honestly, like there's comparisons or parallels to be drawn between that Carbitex outsole and the F50 in some ways. So this idea of having that acceleration phase and then getting up to a faster speed, having comfort at lower speeds, and then being more responsive at higher speeds. So when we got down further down the line, when we had the two plates and the foam, you create this kind of rocker effect. So if you have the shoe in hand, you realize the angle between. So I'm going to pick out a shoe to try and describe this. This is another one, which hasn't got too much attention. But if you think of the rocker effect, so on this shoe you have this kind of angle, toe spring. That's even more accentuated on the 50 plus.
Yeah.
So it really gets you rocking.
Closer to this.
Exactly. So it really does accentuate you, get you onto your toes. And it does create this kind of artificial starting block. So that's why as soon as you put that shoe on and you're on your toes, you have the foam kind of sat behind and you're really in this position aggressively right from the go. Then as you start to accelerate, it is a bit softer. So you're mainly engaging that top plate. Or at least this is the feeling you get, and this is, I think, the perception. You're not engaging both plates at that point when you're accelerating. Then when you're more kind of upright, you're in that full kind of sprint. You're putting more force through the shoe. You then start to engage both plates, and the shoe gets stiffer. That foam actually, again, it talks a lot about its energy return, and I think everyone's obsessed with the term energy return, especially in running. But with that one, it's actually more about how do you load those two plates in a smart way. So you get, rather than just having one plate stiffness, you get two. So with the regular F50 Elite, you're only ever bending one plate. On this one, you're bending two, or 1.5, 2, let's say, because it's split in that fourth. But yeah, so that's kind of some of the thinking behind it anyway, biomechanically. I think there's some kind of little nuances there, but I think it's mainly about the kind of gearing approach. How do you cater to the different needs of running and essentially within one shoe? And then football, you've got repeat sprints. So how can you get that energy back? How can you save energy over the course of 90 minutes? Like even cool things like personal experience in that shoe when you're slowing down, because you've got that foam in the forefoot, providing you don't land on your heels, you do get this kind of damping sensation when you're slowing down, especially when I've tried it out on an AG pitch. It's not just hammering into the ground. You get this kind of pitter patter, I guess, approach with that foam. But yeah,
nice. It's very cool. I love great in-depth, detailed explanation there that I'm sure not a lot of people were expecting when they.
Yeah, so sorry if that's too.
No, that's actually that's what we were looking for. So.
that is this
Yeah.
podcast's audience. Like, so like
Yeah.
Okay.
our audience is the hardcore boot nerd, and that is the answer
Okay.
that they will have wanted and loved. I do just want to touch on the foam a little bit there, because I just
Yeah.
think you said something really interesting about how it's actually being used to kind of load the plates and various things like this. And I think part of the problem with the foam, a few people have complained about its kind of positioning maybe being interrupting
Hmm.
but I think the foam's biggest issue is actually what it's been compared to. It's obviously just been compared as Nike have air zoom,
An
so
airbag.
Adidas have done this thing that is the same. And the Nike airbag fundamentally, for me at least, is definitely not an energy return product. It's basically something for a bit of comfort. I don't find it particularly effective at a lot, other than providing comfort, which I
Yeah.
think it does very well. We can argue about how much that takes away from the experience of the boot another time.
Yeah.
But the foam seems to be doing an awful lot more. So just literally to go back and be
Yeah.
nerdy, I'm wondering if you can kind of break down for me a little bit how that foam is working at different phases, and
Yeah.
how it's not just an energy return product, it's not just a comfort product. I would really love to know how that's operating and affecting the the biomechanics of the boot.
Yeah, I think even drawing comparisons between the airbag and the foam is interesting because the constructions are quite different. The airbag's kind of sat into a bottom unit, and you're, as a wearer, you're loading the plate, loading the airbag directly, right? There isn't another plate in between. And it's kind of sat within the upper, or the volume of the upper, that airbag. So I think that's already a big difference between the F50 plus. You have two plates which are, let's say, outside of the boot upper volume. So just what I mean by that, it's not sat within here, it's all here and down, which does mean you're further away from the ground. That was kind of the trade-off, but it means when you're then loading that foam, you're directly onto the plate, and then you're squashing essentially the foam between the bottom plate, the ground, and the upper plate. So it's just a kind of a different interaction. And we spent a lot, yeah, there's obviously a lot of back and forth on the best way of putting that foam in. I think if it was purely about comfort, you go back to like the Ace, I think it was 17, which had the boost. It was like
Hmm.
3 millimeters of boost. For me, that's a comfort thing. You get the feeling of something different under your feet, but it's not necessarily creating a mechanical difference. Um, Whereas with this one, it was more about, so when you're sprinting, let's say, it's yeah, the foam is doing something for sure. The rate of both plates returning to their original position is then affected by the foam. If you've got something which is springy, so ideally you put a whole spring in there and it would get it back faster. And with the foam we picked at the time, and there was obviously this testing that goes on, but with the foam we used, it's the Light Strike Pro. It's from the running shoes. It's got multiple components to it. It's got energy return, and it's got a damping component. So when we say damping, and this is going back to my mechanical engineering classes back at uni, but you have a spring and damper model. One is a spring, one is a damper. So one is about loading in, one's about returning. Um, and especially with that foam, it's got a very good kind of elasticity, very good energy return. So it means when you're sprinting, you're able to, it does compress. It's a soft foam, so it does compress. It does allow for those two plates to engage, but then also allows them to return to their original position quickly. So that's kind of the effect the foam's having there. But then it's soft enough as well that when you are doing these kind of agile movements, it's not necessarily getting in the way. You can change direction. What's even interesting is because we do have them decoupled, medial lateral side of the shoe, you can actually, if you're trying to do a lateral cut, you can kind of lean into that foam and use the foam. So again, this is one thing I was always mindful with perception and kind of loading testers with information. But if you think you load into the medial side, that lateral side will stay a little bit higher, so you can actually create kind of this banking angle as well.
It's kind of like the suspension on a car in a way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, So they're kind of independent. So it does
Mm.
allow for that as well to kind of lean into your big toe. So when you're sprinting, you use your big toe a lot. If you look at any gait cycle of any running shoe, um, I think I can't remember who it is, whether it's Mizuno or Brooks, but they do a lot about that, kind of guiding you onto your big toe. So it does allow you to get onto that big toe and really kind of load into it.
Amazing. Like that. Thank you so much for kind of breaking that
awesome.
down. I think that's incredibly interesting. I'm going to come across to the chat here because I think there's some really good questions. Sorry, Andrew, I didn't catch that.
No, there's a lot of good questions.
Yeah, a lot of great questions.
Is the first one why no laces?
There is the first one is not that, but it is on there. So I suppose let's just get that out of the way. I am going to assume and give you the benefit of the doubt here that you would like to have put laces on that boot, and you were maybe told that was not a thing that was happening.
Let's say, like when we're doing testing, I'm going to focus on what we have kind of control on. In general, when we were doing testing on that shoe, as Harry explained, we wanted to keep the full focus on the tooling, right? That's why I think in the images you can even see a lot of Speedflow uppers, and then later when we got closer to the kind of the F50 Elite, we were then able to test with some of those uppers as well to really focus that. So that's more about from a testing side. I think it's a split of opinion. I think there's the want to put and I think you guys have touched on this already. There's the want to put your most, let's say, innovative upper with laceless on that shoe. Of course, other people will want laces. There's personal preference. Of course, you can probably guess by the smirk on my face what my personal preference would be. But yeah, I think it's a tough one. Like the decision was made for a reason. I think it is again from a sleekness and a visual perspective. I think having the laceless looks incredible.
Yeah.
And the design team who finished it off, I was kind of blown away by seeing the final shoe, the coloration. I think I was really, really happy that they made use of the multiple components and really highlighted all of the different elements with the different pops of color. But yeah, like on the laceless topic, there's different reasons, right? There's as Harry said, you need to commercialize it in a certain way. It's not always the personal preferences that make it all the way through.
We do have, and I think I mentioned to you before, he's actually in the chat. We do have one of our guys who put laces in his.
Very cool.
And he has. This is not the first time he's done this. He did that with the Speed Portal Plus as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Very cool. It's definitely something. If I get a second pair, I'll definitely give it a try. With that
maybe a slightly used pair to.
Yeah, I don't want to spend the money and then cut one up. Definitely not. But no, I think it'd be cool to try. But again, of course, with the laces, you're going to get more lockdown. You can probably get more feel for that plate as well. So I would personally love to try. I'm not sample size, so I never fully tried it with a laced variant apart from ripping out the soft liner and squeezing my feet in. That'd be good to try on my own size.
I think I'll let Andrew get to the next question, but I just want to point to Justin's comment here, which I do agree with. He says he likes that it's laceless. He just didn't personally love this version of laceless, which I totally get. I'm actually, while from a performance perspective, I think this is kind of what you're saying. From a performance perspective, I would have loved laces because I just think it would have made the boot better, and you would have been able to engage that plate more. The lockdown would have been better. But I think with this particular boot, it's also okay to look at it like this mad halo, this is the best of what we can achieve product, and for that to be laceless and it not to be as good is kind of okay in this instance. So while yes, pure performance, I'm sat here going, dear Lord, put laces in the damn thing. But I actually really understand the logic of doing it laceless. It actually makes it makes sense, even if it doesn't make sense for performance.
I almost guarantee that Puma had a laceless prototype of their carbon at some point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Do you want to pick up the next question there, Andrew? Whatever.
Yeah, Chris Pottle is here. Well, someone asked about the Tampa Pros being a very nice synthetic alternative to leather, which, sorry, going to disagree with you on that one, bud. And what's Adidas' answer to that? I mean, that's the Hybrid Touch. Come on, and the Hybrid Touch 2.0. So we'll get to Chris's question. What was his favorite boot that he worked on, or his favorite tooling that he worked on?
That's a good question. So I'll cheat and give multiple answers.
That's fine.
F50 Plus, because it was just it was a big challenge. It was a really, really big challenge in lots of different ways. Personally, but I think as a team as well, it was a really tough thing to achieve, like in multiple ways to get it to the point where people accepted it in any respect, as a football product. But then also making it, commercially viable. Like initially, I think you guys saw some of the prototypes in that video. Like a lot of them were just intended as prototypes, and then a lot of the constructions actually closer and closer made it as the final thing. So it was yeah, my heart was in my mouth a lot throughout that process. So that will always stay with me. The Mutator, special place just because it was first thing to work on. It was a Pred, the Mania History sedan. That was super special. And then God, there's a lot in there which I'm really. Everyone is kind of like a child, I guess. That you have involved. And again, I'm only involved in them as part of amazing teams, but each one is special. Like the Carbitex one, I think again that was a big innovation at the time. I still believe it's a big innovation at the time. And it really works, and I think some people really love that product. So anytime I see someone excited and happy with something, and like as a kid, you want to get the box turns up from, I'm going to say Predator X because that's where I ordered from a lot when I was younger. Other retailers are available, but yeah, Predator X, box would turn up, you'd rip them out, and you'd be straight out into the pitch. And I think that's hopefully what we did with a lot of these products. Like even I've got this one in front of me. I brought this across just because of how breathable it is. So I thought for Vietnam it would be a good option. I haven't worn it here because after seeing some of the pictures, I think it would be crushed. But even with this one, like so many people involved in this, so much work went into it. And again, a lot of people thought this can never work for football. And to put something, again, this for me is another Halo product. We were able to do it. As a big collective team, but it was possible. So even that was really special for me.
Yeah, there's one of the Japanese players, Kubo Takafusa, wore the Strung for a good while, actually, surprisingly. And until at one point it seemed like somebody at Adidas gave him a call and was like, "Hey, we actually need you to switch into other boots now." But he wore those for quite a while until I think he wore them until after the F50 came out.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
Like, hey,
that's really cool.
by the way, you are the face of this campaign in Japan. You need to be wearing the boots. So, which he doesn't seem to have a problem with now. So,
yeah, actually, the new F50 is great as well. I think Ferran Torres as well. He wore it for more games than anyone was expecting, and also earlier. But that was cool. Even when Flo Mertz scored, I think the first game he was wearing this boot. So I had some of the guys texting me being like, someone scored, Strung's off the mark. Yeah. I was like, that's nice. Those kind of things are really cool.
Yeah. We got Footloose has another great question. What's the best part of designing a boot? So I guess what's your favorite part?
So for me, it's actually, I don't know, working with the designers themselves. So again, from the development side, where especially innovation development, it's there's different facets of the job. Sometimes I think I've still got it somewhere. The first very bad sketches for the F50 Plus, or what became the F50 Plus tooling for the double plate. Those kind of initial phase, like discussions are amazing. Kind of really brainstorming, getting the prototypes in, or first prototypes from the factories. That's always really cool. With your first kind of injected outsoles, mocked up properly. That's nice. I I'm always, let's say testing, I'm always a bit anxious because it can always, especially on those kind of innovation projects, because you're like, is this going to be accepted? Is it
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Is something going to go wrong? So there's a bit of heart and mouth there. And I think it's the same for probably the inline teams as well. And then ultimately when it goes to market and you have you guys talking about it,
yeah,
like spoke to Jacob quite a lot over the years, and honestly, like that used to be the first thing I do. Like wait for the Unisport video to come out and watch it. I'll put my hand up and admit that I watch those videos. Same with Josh. Like you're
yeah.
waiting for people to review,
Hmm.
see what they said. So it was, of course, like when there was positive stuff to be said, like it means a lot. People at the brands do watch those videos, not all of them, but I think
Hmm.
especially the boot nerds in us, we're watching those videos, and yeah, that's a big part of the process as well. The how people, if people don't like it and they don't care about it, you can
That's
argue
yeah,
you've not done enough.
yeah,
Um, so it's important as well.
You can't
yeah.
humanize the people who made these. It's going to make me feel bad whenever I review now. You
Well,
can't
okay,
you
okay.
can't make you
A
can't
little
tell me
baby
people
violin
are you
kicking out.
can't tell me people are watching these and make me feel bad about
I
saying their
okay,
product is bad.
okay. To kind of draw this back and make you feel a bit better about that, James. I remember reading a thing from I'm into video games, obviously, and I remember reading a thing from one of the guys at Game Informer. Rest in peace. They're now gone. But he was saying how he went out and he met a team, some developers, and they're all really passionate and like they really believed in what they were working on and they worked really hard and everything. And he ended up reviewing the game that they created and he gave it like a 3 out of 10. And it was just terrible. And he's like, it really sucks sometimes that you have to be really honest about stuff because you've met these people, you see how passionate you are, they see how hard working they do, and at the end of the day, all anybody's ever going to see is a review. And it really it kind of sucks because it really sucks out all the humanity out of the situation. But at the same time, I mean, we're all in this system. Sorry, I'm getting on an
Yeah,
anti-capitalist rant again, but we're all in this system,
yeah,
and that's just kind of what we're all reduced to at the end of the day. So it kind of sucks, but yeah, how you don't from the outside, we don't see how many thousands of hours have been poured, blood, sweat, and tears have been poured into something, only for it to release and someone go, "Well, this is crap."
yeah. And I think that's where you guys and others do a great job. There is that, I think, appreciation for, even if the product doesn't absolutely like, even if it's not a home run, I think you show appreciation for the intent behind products,
Yeah,
and you try
yeah,
and, I think there's certain products where you're like, it's difficult to do that, but
yeah.
for sure, I think you give that. And as you've said before, and you've had Justin on, who has his love for the edge. Everyone has their product, right? Everyone has a shoe that,
Everybody has their own like Halo product in a way.
yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's great. I think that's the exciting part. So everyone, there's something for everyone in that respect.
yeah, yeah. James and his nemesis. I'm sure James's ultimate dream is maybe to have a signed pair of nemesis, just have a whole development team who worked on the
That is literally the dream.
19.1
Probably make
and
that happen.
I
Hey,
that
thanks,
would be
guys.
incredible. I would love that
that
so
is the
much.
one that James would probably put in a case. And,
I would I don't have any boots that I like have out in like display cases or anything like that. I've got like big boxes and stuff, but I don't have
Yeah,
anything that's like this is fancy and displayed. And I have some signed boots and stuff. But yeah, honestly, I if I could get like developers to sign my Nemesis to say that would be incredible. I'd be like, yep.
I think we could probably for the 19. I think we could probably. 'Cause I know,
Oh yeah, no,
yeah,
no,
good
Nemesis
friends.
19,
We
that's
could
my
probably
jam.
make that. We could probably make that happen.
Oh,
nice.
we
And
need to
I'll
talk.
reach out to the guy and see whether he can agree to do that.
Oh yeah,
That would be amazing.
appreciate
That
that.
would be absolutely amazing.
We've got obviously still loads of questions, so brace yourself.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sole plate?
Full stop.
Full stop.
Oh man, that's tough. Like, I'll say outside of the ones I've had the pleasure of being involved in, because otherwise it's going to be picking your favorite child. Um, I used to love this, some of the split toolings from Adi going back
Hmm.
as a kid. I know it's a hated boot, and you guys talked about it recently, like the tune it. at the time, I loved that thing. From a pure, and this is the thing, I was a nerd even then.
Yeah.
There was part of me that loved that. Some of the carbon fiber Nike toolings were incredible, like
Hmm.
visually unbelievable. Um, yeah, there's a lot out there. Those one again, visually, I think the old Mercs used to be amazing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
they were really special, and then, but I've loved, honestly, I do genuinely love the ones I've had the pleasure of being involved in. I think to wear, I still, so it was the I said F50 Battle Pack Ghosted. I think
Hmm.
that's the correct, I can't remember
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
correct name of it. I'm terrible with the names. That I wore for a full season. I loved that shoe because it had the Carbitex tooling, it had the hybrid touch upper. I thought that was amazing. I think Noah was a big fan of those as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was a huge fan of those.
That's probably still my. I think that for me the Ghosted slash Speedflow is still for me one of my probably go-tos and favorites.
Yeah. Yeah. I need more pairs. I've got a Speedflow Plus still, but I've been eyeing up some of the regular ones.
You've got the same
Oh,
one I've got, same colorway, the black colorway. Looks
yeah. Yeah.
incredible.
They're so good. There's some wear on the toe because I've been wearing them on AG like a fool, but we don't have a lot of choice here.
Yeah,
Um. Oh, yeah. Speaking of sole plates, this is one that you know across reviewers and stuff like this. Why the hell? Who who do we need to nail to a mast and tell them we won't let them down until they give it to us? They gave us an Adidas boot. Why can't we get it Messi sole plate? What the hell? We know Adidas has the molds because they still make it for him, and I'm sure it's stupidly expensive to do. But to make it cheaper, just give it to everybody.
oh,
Please,
that
pretty
might be one of the ones
please.
where I had to play my pants on the rationale behind it. All I'd say is like, mm, yeah, let's say players have their individual stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
understand the
think
whole commercialization aspect. Like, it'd be really weird.
yeah,
Like, from a boomer perspective, I absolutely want it. From a marketing
yeah.
perspective, it's really weird to say like, "Oh, look at this awesome new sole plate we did." Except for the Messi, we're going to use a sole plate that's God. It probably was starting development in probably 2013. I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it'd
So
be
yeah,
really weird to go out and say,
so obviously I had the Gamba tracks, and what was that? The what, Messi 7? Is that the name of it? Messi 17?
15.1,
15.
16.1, 17.1
Sorry, it's
nemesis.
15. That's the one I was thinking of. So that was developed for that specific boot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, this is the other thing you always need to keep in mind: what do the uppers match with the toolings? Like even just the shape and size. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't always go. So it might be a case for that F50 or for the Messi version, you wouldn't necessarily be able to just go and grab those outsoles and glue
Yeah,
them on. There'd
yeah.
be a
There,
mismatch.
there, yeah. There is also the thing that like the current F50 has a external heel counter,
Exactly.
whereas none of the Messi models did.
Exactly. So that's a
So
big part of it. So you'd
yeah,
have to completely change the heel
I'm
construction. So
like it would cost a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort. But damn it, I don't care.
Yeah,
um,
stop ruining my hopes and dreams and just give it to me, please.
yeah, right. Seriously. Chris Bottle's got another great question. Split and single sole plate. Is there any engineering advantages, disadvantage to one or the other?
Yeah, this
really
is.
good
I saw
question.
this question come up, and I really, really would like to know the answer to this because I've had conversations with people about this, like
Uh-huh.
over the years, and I would love to see from like your perspective if you see a advantage or disadvantage to those split and single sole plates.
Yeah, like the way so there's different parts to consider. There's the materials themselves, there's the weight, and then there's what you do with your upper. So if you go single, to use the Pred as an example, because that's traditionally been split. With that one, it's a full length material. It's nylon material. It's stiff. It provides all of the function you need without there being anything on the inside. There is there's like an insole card, which you rip up your insole, you'll see it. Um, you only have one extra piece, and that's to form the upper. But the outsole on a full length nylon outsole does everything. As soon as you start to move towards even on the Sakito, that's got an insole. Yeah, that's got an insole board.
Yeah.
So that's got then a softer, like relatively speaking, like a softer outsole itself, and then some of the function stiffness comes from the inside of the shoe, from this insole board, which is the white. I'm just showing screen, that kind of white piece. That's providing a lot of the structure. So when you go to then a split tooling, depending how you do it, but a lot of the function and the stiffness is then coming from the insole board. And the outsole themselves are then a softer material. They're there to essentially carry the studs, is kind of the way I think of it. That's how it's done now. There's obviously hybrids of that you could do, where you can try and combine the different material properties together. Typically, you're lighter if you go full length, and that's just based on the shoes already out there on the market. Like you can see with Nike, they've gone back and forward. Pred's now in 24, back to full length. So that's kind of advantages, I think, with the using a split tooling. You can argue with the kind of the fit of the shoe, where you have your insole on the inside. You can get it to wrap in a different way, the upper to wrap up, in the midfoot especially. That's probably your biggest advantage of going split tooling. It's more to do with the insole board as opposed to the outsole itself. It's more what's going on the inside of the shoe.
I'm wondering too, because like I'm sure durability is affected as well, because when you're putting more, you have to really focus on what materials the insole board is made of. And, you know, like traditionally in the past, like a lot of insole boards were not made with anything super, super special. It was just a piece.
Yeah.
And I think when you put, you know, from design perspective, when you do make a full like sole plate where a lot of the form and function is done by the sole plate, that almost seems better in a way, because these are stiffer materials anyways. So, you know, like maybe not just from function, but from a durability perspective. Like I always tell people, like, your boots may look fine on the outside, but always check the midsole, because if the midsole's trashed, you need a new pair of boots. Basically.
I never thought about that actually myself.
Yeah,
I mean, there's pros and cons. Like if you're using like on the split outsoles, it's usually, apart from the Nemesis actually, but they're usually TPUs. So much softer grades of material. So durability, like from an abrasion standpoint, is going to be good. That's why like the stud tips are typically TPU, right? It's for abrasion, durability. So yeah, there's going to be subtleties, I think, on durability. Of course, if you got really, I can't remember which Vapor it was. I don't want to say it was the 13, it might be in the 12, with the split tooling with these kind of prongs coming off.
Yeah, that was the 12.
I know that. I remember seeing some videos on, I think it was Footy Headlines at the time, of durability challenges.
The thing about that tooling in particular, that's not the first time it's happened to a Nike boot where it was designed like that. The Tiempo Legend 3 had that issue badly.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So, and like, so later, and if you're looking for Tiempo Legend 3, here's a hint, like, or here's, you know, a piece of advice. Always look for ones that have riveted and that back part there, because if they're not riveted, the glue they used was just too weak at the time. So they did a running change where, like, several colorways later, they started riveting the back there. And, like, that's added a bit of weight, but it was, you know, far, like, it made that boot from, like, okay, you can wear this for a while before the sole plate wear up, to where, like, okay, you can really go to town on this boot. You can really just, it'll go through war for you, basically.
Yeah. Sorry, you said Nemesis, so I got excited. You said the Nemesis wasn't TPU, so was that nylon instead?
Yeah, I think the company producing it even had a big launch event for it, or I mean, they did their own internal marketing. But yeah, it's just stiffer material, lighter and a little bit stiffer.
So is that for the stud housings, as it were?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking of the launch, like the pink and black colorway. If I think of that, was it launch colorway? That's the one I have anyway. This the black and pink 19. The black, let's say the black bases of those outsoles, they were a different material.
Interesting. Things you didn't know. Learning all the Nemesis things today.
Yeah.
It was different, therefore better.
Right. There's a couple of questions about pros not wearing the F50 Plus. Now, I have seen some pros wear them. There was one of the U17 World Cup, one of the Japanese players was wearing them.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so there's I think I would love to hear your answer, but I think we can also answer this in a way like somebody who's asking why pros are preferring the laceless over the F50 plus, and I think a lot of it has to do with familiarity. Like,
Yeah.
I think pros are like just as superstitious about things as we are, if not more so, at times.
Yeah, for sure. And I even had a personal one just with this is how probably crazy that I come across at times, but like with playing matches, I would struggle to wear laceless just because in my head I was often playing defense when I was in Germany for the teams, and just in my head I just thought, okay, if I'm losing like a fraction of responsiveness in my rank, like the attacker, they are proactively making the movement, I have to react. So in my head I was like, right, if I'm losing 0 point something milliseconds in reaction, so when I was, if I knew I was playing defense, I wouldn't wear laces.
Yeah.
Just because I was like, I backed myself speed wise, but it's like if I've got a tricky, usually a smaller, trickier winger, I was like, I don't want to have to keep or feel like I've got any slip. But I think it's the same with these pro players. They're on another level. Like Tony Kroos, obviously, and Van Persie are probably some of the good examples where they wore the same stuff. Once they were happy, they just kept wearing it. Again, putting foam and two plates underneath someone's foot, they've never experienced that. So to try and give that to someone who's 25, 26, they've been playing professionally at that maybe already 10 years. It's so trying to, some people are better than others. It's a hard sell, yeah.
It's kind of like we talked about this before, where a lot of the younger players seem like they're gravitating towards laceless just because they've grown up with laceless now. Like look at Louis Yamal at Barca, like he's sticking with laceless, and like to me, like if I was him, I would want laces just because that's I'd want that like little bit of extra advantage. But I'm sure for him, he probably thinks like, well, I want a close touch to the ball as possible. I don't want anything in the way.
Yeah.
So.
And people's experiences growing up are so different. Like I remember, I won't say the name, but I remember speaking to a pro, like a younger pro, and we asked him at the time, this is going a few years back, but I asked him, what's your first memory of a Predator? And he said it was the 2014 Instinct. And I'm like, what? And I just felt, so in that moment, before that question, I felt relatively young. I asked that question and I felt like I jumped 20 years in age.
Your bones just started turning to ash.
That hurt. So that's the reality. Like there's people like Dele Alli went so many years just wearing laces. With I think it was A16, and he was wearing laces then from that point on for many years. So yeah, you get used to it. It's if you're going to try those innovations as well, it's probably going to be on those younger players, like as you mentioned, the under 17s player. You probably got a better chance at that age than you do at someone who's in their prime, who just wants to really concentrate on
their game.
Yeah, chasing Ballon d'Ors or whatever.
Yeah, you almost like, I mean, I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there was a guy named Kenny Cooper, played for FC Dallas, and he was super picky with his boots, and he did not like any offset lacing at all. So what Adi ended up doing, so he had like $1 million deal with Adi. So Adi brought in the guy who worked with Beckham when customizing his boots. And like they made a special version of absolutes for him. They made special versions of power swerves for him. And like it was really like, you don't realize how offset the laces were on those boots until you saw his boots where the laces were straight, just dead down the middle. And then it was just really weird to look at. So even stuff like that, where like some guys were like, they grew up with the laces down the middle all the time, and all of a sudden they're off center. Like, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Who's? I'm sure you can't say who it is, but Justin asked, who is responsible for the Freak Plus collar? I imagine.
Who that was? I think I do know who that was.
We don't need to say their name. It's fine.
No, but I can speak to them and point them your way.
We do have several questions on thinking about AG, like, so like when you were developing the F50 Plus, like I'm sure you knew they were going to be used on AG at some point, but I'm sure the testing didn't really go through that as much. And Proper Boots, Hunter was like, as we have pro players and amateurs shifting onto turf 4G pitches more and more often, do you find it potentially difficult to bring excitement to an AG plate?
Oh, good question. I'd say it's not so much difficult to bring the excitement to AG. It's more like, where is our focus?
Mm-hmm.
Like at that time, the focus was FG
Mm-hmm.
for that product, so that's where we placed the focus. I do think we're going to see more brands, and I think Puma have probably done a decent job. But I think on the most recent F50 AG tooling as well, the
Yeah.
plate's really like specific. So I think more brands will. I could imagine that there will be more innovation going into that space. But it's an interesting one because I think listening to you guys, I didn't realize like the Dutch were trying to move away
Yeah.
now from
I
AG.
almost
So
feel like, yeah,
it's a
exactly.
really weird place.
I think as soon as like it almost feels like brands are finally catching up to what the market wants, right as the governing bodies are figuring out that AG is actually really bad to play on. So
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's space there. I don't think AG pitches are going to disappear
no, they won't.
overnight unless the say innovation in these hybrid pitches.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's the way forward. But yeah, until the durability of pitch conditions improves in cold weather, I think AG pitches are not going to go away. So yeah, I hope there
Yeah.
is more innovation there because I think, and to be fair to Nike, I think with the AG plates on the Vapors and the Superflies, you get the exact same innovation. Um,
Yeah, they've done a
I think
good
James,
job
you
with
even
that.
talked about the AGs maybe even better than the FG.
Oh yeah,
So that's
yeah,
kind of cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
For a lot
my
of
opinion on a
those
lot of
plates.
the Mercurials is that the AG is the better way to go, and with this particular one, I think for 9 out of 10 people, the AG plate is just the better option.
Uh-huh.
Like there are some people who are like obviously go for the FG, but like the FG is for those like people who are really into your your hardcore speed boots or whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think the AG option, it's going to be more than aggressive enough for most people. It offers pretty much everything that the FG offers, and it's good enough to be used on a decent FG surface and on the AG.
yeah,
So it's, for me, it will be kind of a no-brainer if I was spending my money on a Merc to
yeah,
go and buy the AG. It just so happened that obviously I review, so I ended up doing both.
yeah,
I think for me too is like always one of the most baffling things for me is seeing HG boots on the Japanese market and then seeing them just not released anywhere else really, because I mean like obviously the way this, again, here's another capitalist rant, the way the global system is set up is it's very geared towards Western and developed countries that have nicer facilities, and these companies are going to go where the sales are highest, which is again the same countries. But at the same time, like even in those same countries, like I'm from Texas for example, the pitches we have in Texas are horrid. Like you have some genuinely nice pitches that would be great for FG, but like I've been telling people back home, like, just get AG plates to wear on the Texas fields because they're so hard. But,
yeah,
like, even more than that, an HG plate would be perfect for, I would say, like, more than half the facilities available to a lot of people.
yeah,
And it's really bizarre to see that, like, there's not much development that goes into the HG plates. They'll use the same ones for years. Like,
yeah.
the current Predator HG plate has been around since the A17, I think. So
Is it? Or is it Pred 18? Did it say an
well, maybe it
H2
was
on the
at
thing?
18. It was 18. It
I think
was
it's maybe
18.
the 18, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but
I know
again,
it's,
there's not a lot of development there. But like, there's a lot of, I think, there's a lot of potential there
yeah,
for HG boots to get more of a shout, and it's just weird to me. Like, it's this kind of this just secret. We've got
yeah,
one of our buds who's on the Bootcast pod, Colby, just got some HG Tiempo Legend 5s,
yeah. They're
and they're
looking incredible.
riveted everywhere. And it's like, I was talking to him last night. I was like, hey man, I found some HG Legend 6s. I know you've been looking for those. And like, I've got HG F50s, the original ones from 2004. And the reason I want HG specifically is because I know the sole plates are more durable. They're designed to be beat up more. So like, you always have that issue where you could crack an old sole plate, but with HG sole plates, it seems like that's less likely to happen.
You'll be surprised to hear I had a HG Nemesis, but there you
go. Of
course. To be fair, I have the HG current King Ultimate as well, and that is significantly better than the regular release, in my opinion. But that's partly the outsole and also partly the switch to the floating tongue on that one. I think everyone's got a good point. That there's so many people playing on AG and HG, and we have all this innovation in FG, and it really feels like the regular user would benefit from that AG innovation, like having you come up with the F50 and be like, okay, this is going to be an AG boot. Like, could you imagine how cool that would be to have like almost like a Halo product designed for AG, and all of the innovation had gone into making this the best possible boot for a hard or an artificial ground surface. I'd love to see that. I think that would be so interesting to see, like that move, because FG we've done a lot of. I think the AG would be really interesting.
The problem you have though is because the focus is so much on FG is your sales. So like a few years ago, Adidas did just for Asia, they did a year of the X Ghosted, and it was AG only, and they did not sell it at all. Like, it looked awesome. It was really well designed. And I think part of that might have been down to the fact it was a ghosted, but then it's disappointing to see like this year's the year of the dragon and we got nothing. We got a few collab shirts and stuff like that, but like we didn't get any boots. And I'd argue that because that ghosted did so poorly, Adidas is almost like, okay, we don't want to waste our money on that.
I saw the football emotion as well, right? With this.
Yeah, but now at the same time, the football motion came out with that, Kings League, and it looks like numbers are fairly limited. But again, like, even though your hands are going to get burned every once in a while, I think these companies need to just accept, like, if we can have Halo products, we can have other products where, maybe they don't sell as well, but they just need to try and see what works at this point.
Yeah,
for sure. I think Justin's got a really interesting question here as well. They just popped up. So obviously you said you selected the Light Strike Pro foam as the one to use, but why that one? So why that specific foam as opposed to one of, obviously Adidas have many options. So why did you use the Light Strike Pro specifically for the F50 Plus?
Again, we're not going into too many details, but lots of testing. It's probably number one. And I think as well at the time, I think it still is, it's one of the Halo running products. So there's already a lot of experience in the brand with that foam. We knew what it could do. Again, they're only like relatively small inserts, but it's a very lightweight foam. It has all the properties you want. It's got it's a soft enough foam, but it still has that high energy return, which is what we were looking for. There's a lot of factors, like making it work, the construction. So they were all things which we had to consider on the foam as well.
Looks like a nightmare. One of the prototypes had boost, right?
The very crude one in the video.
The very crude one. But like, I think that speaks to like there was thinking about what to use at least.
Yeah, like at one point we were thinking, and this was the nice thing about having multiple components, you could really nerd out, and we did really nerd out on different materials for each component. I think at one point we had to cut it down heavily, but we had a fairly expansive design of experiments going on with lots of different materials. So
someone above was like, "We're spending how much?"
Of course, we didn't spend any money at all, and it didn't take up any budget for anyone listening. But it was. No, we definitely explored a lot there.
I think Justin's also made a great point here. I was going to say the same thing. He says, "Okay, you've convinced me. I'll get another pair just because I support the work you've done." honestly, I genuinely think, okay, we don't have a massive reach with the podcast. We reach kind of, between 1,000 and 3,000 people on a weekly basis. But if Adidas wanted to promote the F50 Plus, they should have definitely done this. Maybe even the Unisport video, like a little bit earlier, because you're kind of
the
pitching,
timing of that video was weird,
right? Because you're kind of pitching
really
this like intense Halo product with all of this innovation, and who on earth is going to buy that? Well, it's us. It's the boot nerds in the world. And what do we want to know? We, as much as we care about colorways and looks, we want to know, how did you make this? What are what's behind it? What's under the hood? How do those two plates work together with the foam? If they'd have come out and told us that, I think that the general, I know we're not a huge community, we're a small community, but like the boot head community, we would have all gone nuts for that, and they would have sold so many more. And it's things like this. It's spending an hour talking to somebody about, this is how each individual element of this boot works, and this is why we did it. And I do genuinely think, off the back of this conversation, Adidas will find, like, I don't know, you know what? When we put this up on the live, I'm going to put a link down in the description, and I'll be able to track it and just see how many people click on it to have a look. But you'll be able to, like, they would have made more sales, I think, if this had been the sales pitch. And I think this is the case with a lot of boots, particularly the F50 Plus. I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but we'll come back. But particularly with the F50 Plus, but with a lot of boots, I genuinely think that there is a desire or a want for the technical information, for there to be a story and for the tech information to be there. So we spoke earlier about the F50, the Two Horizons F50. They messed up the story. If they'd have put a better story in that, it might have sold. And then when you're first launching a boot, if you tell us the tech, I just think people will get more excited about it. And conversations like this kind of information, like, you've not given away anything like groundbreaking that, Adidas is going to be annoyed that they're like, oh my God, that Ben, like, throw a black bag over his head, throw him in the back of the car. But this is the kind of thing that I think they should be telling us. Like, not just Adidas, obviously, Adidas, Puma, Nike. Like, Puma released an entire carbon sole plate and essentially have done nothing to promote the innovation of that. And by innovation, I literally do not mean them telling us, like Nike do this all the time, like, oh, this is going to give you 16% more like spin on the ball. And it's crap, and we know it. Like, give us the actual innovation of how things work, how you've built things, how you've put things together, and let people like yourself, the developers and the designers, step forward. Obviously, heavily NDA'd and PR'd up, and with their media training. And I know Unisport do it, but it's a long way down the line usually, and it's not often enough. And I really do think it could have a really positive impact on the sales of certain boots, or the overall perception of companies. I think the way companies can be perceived could be great, and you can really turn the corner on the perception of a specific boot. For example, the F50 Plus, which I like, I think is perceived reasonably negatively because of the performance of it and the price of it. But you sitting here right now saying, this is what went into it, this is how all these nuances work, this is why it's laceless, that sells the product. Like, this is, I'm sitting here as a person who I like to think is quite well informed about football boots, going, well, damn, I kind of need to go out and get a pair of F50 Plus. Like, and I'm talking to you right here, sat in front, and you're not trying, but you're selling it to me. And I don't even know where I was going. There's my rant. Andrew, it's all yours. I'm done ranting now. I'm grumpy now.
I was even going to add to that. I think there's two different types of marketing as well. I always think, if you think of it, I'm going to say like an onion. There's the different layers of marketing. You've got like the general consumer, and I think you've got how they see it. It's going to be perhaps just online. They go online, they're going to buy a shoe. They need to buy a shoe, so they're going to purchase anything irrespective of the marketing. you've got the next layer who are just generally interested, and this is where you get the amazing adverts. Like I still love the what's in it? Yeah, the Miss Alyssa is I remember it song from the 2014 ads. And again, that's like it's the association between the football culture and the products, and then you've got the layer we're at, which is we love those technical details. And again, this stuff's available. It's a lot of the stuff I've said. I've been very careful to say stuff which is it's not revealing any trade secrets or anything. I've been very, very, very aware of that. But yeah, it's stuff which is out there and is not communicated. I agree, and I think it's getting those different layers. Like there'll be a lot of people who don't care about what I've just said because they're like, what now?
I think it's
but yeah.
different. I think it's different market to market as well. Like one of the brands that surprisingly did a really, really good marketing push was Mizuno, the original Ignitus. And they did this for a while. I'm kind of annoyed at how they're doing stuff now. Obviously, they're much bigger than they were back then. But what they did at the time when the first Ignitus launched was they just basically they put up on their YouTube channel a video with one of the developers or the lead developer. You know, they put in videos like the technical aspect, like why the boot is designed the way it is, why it's got this massive Mukaitin panel, so like non-spinning panel. You know, how it affect is like how their testing is, how the testing went. Like they have videos of the breakdowns and stuff and slow-mo visualizations of it. And like, I don't know how much that helped. I wasn't in Japan at the time, but that initial colorway and then the World Cup colorway both sold out immediately in Japan. And I think a lot more technical discussions should be had. Like they need to put it, you say this information is available, but it needs to be more front and center, I think, in some ways, because I think it'll win over some more of this, skeptical people. And it's just really weird we don't see that as much anymore when we should be seeing it more now than ever. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ben, that there's obviously this. I think those ways that you broke down the market are really accurate. And like there are people who are just going to walk in a store and just buy a pair of boots they like the look of. The people who, that's the same people who go online. The people who get that kind of football culture or that advert, even that the recent Bellingham advert for the Predator, I think was fantastic. Like I think that was a really, really cool advert. And then yes, there's us who are probably the smallest subset of any of those. But I would also argue that the F50 Plus, going back to that as the example, who is that aimed at if not me? Like, if not this particular
100%.
subset, like, okay, so you could make the argument it's too much effort, it's too expensive to make that information front and center for those first two groups. I get that completely. But when it comes to the F50 Plus and for the Puma Ultra Carbon and your Halo products, basically, if those products aren't going to be bought by crazy individuals who spend far too much money on boots, who's going to buy them? So give us, like, make me buy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, make me buy it. What am I going to buy? But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. Footloose Boots actually just there said something very similar. He's just said people will go into the store, feel the uppers and feel the uppers. And yeah, in hand, a lot of the uppers don't feel that different from each other. But on feet, they feel very different. And then obviously you got your takedowns and things like that. It's mad. We'll take the last question here from Justin before we wrap up, I think. So Justin says, why does the F50 Plus not have extra insoles? Do you know this?
No.
There you go, Justin.
Cost.
Thank you
Next
very
question.
much.
Cost.
I'm going to let Andrew answer that one.
I feel like we should have given you like a pass sign, like a paddle you could have held up
Yeah.
at various points and just been like, nah, pass.
Yeah, no lawyer available. Next question.
Exactly. While we have you here, Ben, there's two things I kind of want to touch on. I want to ask you just if there's anything else you wanted to spread out into the world. But before we get there is something that I want to bring up that I feel like you feel strongly about, that Andrew and I also feel strongly about, and it's an area that I think a lot of brands, Adi included, are lacking on. And I don't know how much you can speak on this, but it's the sustainability aspect of things. The number of colorways we're seeing, all of these different boots being constantly made. It just it's too much. And I think that we're really having such a massively negative impact when it comes to sustainability. And you've got brands like Sakito doing so much when Adidas, and I obviously say Adidas in relation to you, but like, and other brands are doing so little. So I'd really love to get your take on it, if you can, and to the extent that you can. And that rain is really coming down if you can't hear it now. I'm just going to I'm going to mute my mic while everyone else talks.
Easy. No, I think it's a big topic, and I say this is all personal opinion anyway, but I think it has, my feelings on things have changed a lot over the years as well, just as information becomes more available. So this weekend's one watch is the Shopping Conspiracy on Netflix. I think it's number 3 or number 4 in the US at the moment. So the first thing I would say is everyone go and watch that. I think it will be really good. Eric Liedtke, former Adidas CMO, now then Unless founder, and now he's Under Armour. He's in that, so go and watch that. But no, I think it's a difficult one, and this is why I reached out to, I think, both of you afterwards about the 50 euro challenge. And I was looking again at some of my notes yesterday, but like the classic refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. Repair, recycle is the new. It's not the 3 R's anymore; it's the 5 R's, and I think there's also a 7 R's. But this is what I loved about what you guys did there, and I think ultimately there's 2 ends of it. There's the brands, what the brands do; they keep pushing more stuff out, and then as consumers, we keep purchasing more. So there's responsibility across the board. The governments are starting to do more. There's more, I think, legislation coming in over the years, which brands will be affected by, and have to decide do they want to pay huge fines or do something about it. But I think as a consumer as well, like the challenges with all these releases, as you mentioned, we're tempted at least to keep purchasing more colorways or new models. Oh, there's a new one out. Oh, I need to get that one. It's the latest technology. It's the latest innovation. This is why I love that 50 euro challenge so much, because you don't need to go and spend something which is brand new. There's so much product out there. I've seen some wild statistics over the last year in particular about how many clothes, how many shoes are already in existence. There's something like, I think I saw one statistic, like there's enough clothes to literally clothe the next something like 6 generations of people already on the planet. Yet we're making new stuff every single day. So back to your capitalist rant, Andrew. That's part of it. So I think there will be the responsibility. Some brands do it already. Sakito, they take that program, which is amazing. You've got your likes of Patagonia, who do repair services most of, either in their stores or they send it to a centralized warehouse. So I do think there's a need for that. I think there is a need for a bit of a change in the whole industry, which some people are waiting. So let's say some of the brands are waiting for it to happen. Others, like Sakito, as James mentioned, they're doing it proactively. The whole ethos is kind of grounded in that. Like that's where Jake and the guys started. It wasn't like an extra thing that they've added in. So even though the likes of Adi and Nike are already doing a lot of stuff, the reality is a lot of the materials in Predator, I believe in the Mercurial as well, they're using a lot of recycled content. They're using a lot of bio-based content in their toolings, in their outsoles, I should say, but it's not communicated. And the reality is they're producing so much stuff that even if they did a 100% recycled shoe or 100% bio-based shoe, it's still hundreds of thousands of stuff.
I saw a headline a little while ago, and I think it kind of really spoke to this whole movement. It's like, running shoes aren't saving the planet, or these recycled running shoes aren't saving the planet. It's just killing it less slowly.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to, the amount of releases that we're getting from everywhere. I mean, in the US, like 95% of footwear is thrown out.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a danger too when it comes to doing secondhand, because like obviously fashion is always first and foremost in a lot of this stuff, and a lot of people are buying secondhand now, which is awesome, like doing thrift find videos and things like that. But what we're starting to find is even in these thrift find videos, people are over consuming. and like, oh, I'm thrifting, so it's fine. And then
Yeah.
they're spending way too much money on stuff. So it's like, I want us, like James and I, and obviously you, and I want us to kind of like in general start pushing more for people to buy more used boots, be comfortable with this, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure it doesn't turn into just another form of overconsumption. Yes, it's a better overconsumption, but overconsumption in general is still bad.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's difficult. It's a complete mindset shift. I have been improved a hell of a lot, but in the last years working at a brand where you're immersed in it, I've got an ungodly number of football boots, which I did cut down on. But yeah, it's a very easy thing to do. So I think it's being comfortable and kind of valuing what you have, without going on too much of a emotional philosophical tangent. But it's difficult, and so I think it's just something for everyone to look into.
For sure, says the man right here with like 100 pairs of football boots behind him. But no, I think that is the point as well, that obviously there is a responsibility on brands and governments and things like that, but we also have a responsibility as consumers. And then I think, as Andrew said, we as people with a platform, however big or small that platform might be, we also have a responsibility to encourage people in the direction of buying used and buying secondhand and things like that, and not having to buy the latest thing. It's a difficult balance to make, because obviously my channel, Andrew's blog, we essentially run on the newest product.
We kind of, by virtue of our existence, we kind of have to.
But at the same time, we need to do as much as we can to push people in the right direction. We already spoke. I can't remember if we spoke about this on camera or not, Andrew, or whether it was after the podcast, but we spoke about obviously making our €50 challenge an annual thing, like something that we want to continue to do and continue to get people involved in. Obviously we had a few people that we know this year do the challenge. I would love to get as many people as possible involved next year, and see how many people can we get involved to go out and find that €50 bargain, which hopefully for a lot of people would be their boot for the next 6 months, 12 months, things like that. And then we've removed, maybe in the long run and optimistically 100 people from buying that brand new boot. Not to undercut, of course, what you do, Ben, and make people not buy your products.
Then you're out of jobs, but
not trying to shut you down there.
No, that is the conflict, the personal conflict anyway, and it's now where when I am working on something, in my current job as well, we're always pushing, like, if we're going to make something new, let's try and do it more sustainably. And I think this is where, with the Sakito stuff, like, I also want to encourage people to go, like, to be mindful of what they're putting on their foot and what they're purchasing. And I think that's what you guys have been doing a good job of. Like, and same with Nike and Adidas, if they do something good, I think it's also, let's say, applauding them when they do something good and encouraging them to keep doing that good thing rather than mass producing something which we know is bad. So it's more like it's almost encouraging the good behavior and punishing the bad behavior.
For sure. So I don't think we're going to have time to do it today, because we're already nearly on 2 hours. So we might love to get you back on it.
Yeah, absolutely. This needs to be a whole conversation in and of itself. And I think you'd be, you and I have talked privately, and we definitely think this would be like, because you kind of an insider basically, and you would have a lot of good things to say about this approach and how it should be done properly and respectfully, yada yada yada. So,
cool.
So we would love to get you back on the podcast another time, and we had lined up an idea doing something fun, like a top 5 football related songs. Unfortunately, I think we'll have to park that and save it for another time, because we talked obviously very seriously for quite a long time about what we were doing there, which I think is fine. But so I'm going to pass to Ben first. If there's anything else you would like to kind of share, please do so. And also completely up to you as to whether it's something you want to do. If you want to share your Instagram or where people can contact you, also please do so, or use your pass sign, and that is completely fine as well. And then we'll hand over to Andrew. So anything else you want to share, and also any contact details or social medias you'd also like to share.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I don't even check what my social media handles are. I think I'm just Benjamin Thompson or Benjamin.Thompson on Instagram. I'm following both of you guys.
I do know what it is. It's Benjamin Thompson. Like this. That's all it is.
Maybe kept it simple. But I think I'm following both of you guys anyway. So if anyone does want to add me and reach out, always happy to talk. Again, there'll be some stuff which I won't say on or off camera, but I'm always happy to. For me, it's something I love. I love this. I love football boots. I love the sport. And I said to you guys before coming on here, like a big part of it is if I can encourage and excite younger guys to get into this, or to go and play football for the first time, or do sport for the first time. Or exactly. I'm here for it. So no, thank you for having me on. Purchase sustainably. Enjoy your football, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Thank you so much.
Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, you are so welcome. I'm of course here at Boot Wizard Boot Reviews, and you can find me. Do get subscribed, and of course become a member if you would like to support the channel. Very, very helpful and important. And we will allow Andrew to sign off and say goodbye to everyone, because you can probably not hear me due to the deluge of rain.
Yeah, just find me at Lockhart Boot blog and the Instagram. Nice and easy. Ben, again, thanks for coming on. Greatly appreciate your time, and it was super early and stuff, but that was excellent.
I've woken up a bit now.